were you?
Excellent. Um, my parents were very, very proud of my highest excellence as a student.
Who was your favorite teacher and why?
My first grade teacher was Miss Kirchhoff in first grade, and I had so much admiration for her. I still remember at the age of 6 years old. She was so kind and beautiful, and she was one of my biggest mentors.
What did you do after high school, and what was that time like?
That's a great question. After high school, I was invited by my brother to go into medical school to be a doctor with him, and he was very successful. So I decided my hormones were raging and I wanted to be a mother. So as soon as I got married to my husband, we were married for 15 years, I went back. I had already become an RN, and I went back into working in surgery. And I worked in surgery for 22 years. That was one of my most rewarding careers, other than my first rewarding was being a mother. Okay.
What was the most shocking news story you remember hearing as a child?
My stepmother told me that, to my face, that the only reason I was born was because my real mother had me to try to keep my father. They were both attorneys, and that was devastating.
What would be your perfect meal?
My perfect meal is I love homemade lasagna, but with no pork. And I love a salad with baby spinach with Parmesan and sliced egg.
Describe a perfect Saturday afternoon.
That would definitely be spending with my youngest daughter, who's my closest friend and confidant. We're attached always at the hip. And when I'm around her, I purr like a kitten.
List a few of your habits that annoy other people.
I talk too much, definitely.
What would you do differently if you had more self-discipline?
I have learned tools to take a deep breath first. And then, right after that, if I'm still overwhelmed, I take 3 deep breaths. I learned tools to deal with huge rage from a narcissist, and I smile a lot, even when I'm in my worst pain.
What do you fear?
Great question again. My biggest fear is someone attacking me. I was a victim of a violent crime in 2003, and it's documented in public records. So that is my biggest fear. Also, I'm afraid of the dark. But I do have little night lights, so that's good.
If you could travel anywhere for free, where would you go?
Awesome question again. I would go to the tropics, whether I lived in Hawaii for a year, and I got married in Hawaii. Also, I would go to Cancun. I would go to Cozumel. I would go to the best tropics in the world.
What do you like best about yourself?
Great question again. The best thing I like about myself is that I smile to everyone. And if they don't smile back, fine. The other best thing I love is being around people. If I get the blues, I immediately go to be around someone. Also, I love music. Thank you.
If you had all the money in the world, where would you live?
Um,
Name one great smell.
a rose.
Where do you believe we go when we die?
To heaven, definitely. I mean, I might go to the devil. I hope not. But my mom is in heaven, and I believe in heaven. Thank you.
If you could relive one moment in your life, which one would it be?
Definitely the birth of my 3 children. The happiest moment of my life. Second would be the day that I got married.
If money were no object, what would you buy?
I would buy the gift of, all children to be free of pediatric cancer, definitely.
What was your all-time favorite TV show?
Anything funny? I'm thinking back of Seinfeld. I'm thinking back of Johnny Carson even. My father used to love the guy that looks just like Winston Churchill. Forget his name.
What was the most memorable concert you ever saw? If you could bring someone back from the dead, who would it be?
My mama and my brother. Great questions as well. Thank you.
Do you believe in psychics or the supernatural?
I do believe in psychics that help the police. I do believe in them. I believe in psychics and the supernatural if they tell the truth about what the future is. But I don't go to them on purpose because I don't want to hear bad news. And I ask them not to tell me bad news, but they still do.
What's the best dish you can prepare from scratch?
Definitely homemade lasagna. My chocolate pie. It's a recipe that's 100 years old from my grandmother. And it makes your eyes roll back. Everyone that touches a taste of it.
Describe a family tradition you remember fondly.
Our family tradition now is that we all are together on the biggest holidays of my Christmas Eve and my Christmas. We love to be on our birthdays together, and I love birthday cake and wedding cake.
What was the best phone call you ever received?
My best phone call was hearing from my youngest daughter every day.
What was the best road trip you ever took?
To Hawaii. Well, that was a flight to Hawaii. But my best road trip, that's a difficult question.
Who's your favorite movie actor and actress?
Well, I have actually met Warren Beatty and his wife in person, and they don't believe in the Hollywood style of always looking younger. Their wrinkles are very natural. But my favorite actor or actress are the ones that make me laugh, definitely.
What's the most daring adventure you've ever been on?
That would be the birth of my 3 children. I've actually given birth to my youngest, who was a 12-pound baby. And she is such a blessing every day that I would do it 1 trillion times 1 trillion, all the way to infinity, over and over. Thank you.
How much are you bothered by growing older?
I am actually learning to live gracefully as growing older. I would love a tiny drop of Botox, but it is so very expensive. So I'm learning to live naturally, and I'm so good at growing older that I actually squeak when I walk.
Name all the pets you've ever had.
Sabrina, she was my very first little French poodle. I loved her name. Also, her little daughter, her name was Dee Dee, which stood for Desiree. And my rescue pup, that was a chocolate retriever, Labrador retriever. And I named her Coco. And I was very saddened by their death, but they were my best. Also, my 14-year-old German Shepherd named Princess. Thank you.
What clothing item did you love so much you wore it too often?
Great question, but I honestly don't feel like I wear them too often. From my very favorite are my pearls. My diamonds from my grandmother. And I love the colors black, red, and cream.
Do you ever swear? If so, what's your favorite curse word?
I only swear, like, for example, if I hit my thumb with a hammer. But my release from the anger is to say silly girl. So my favorite cuss word is really not something I want to repeat on camera.
How have your priorities changed in your life?
The best question probably ever. My priorities don't have a price tag. And that is first my God, first always. Second is my family. My baby granddaughter has a brain tumor. I've actually learned to heal, major. My priorities, again, not to repeat, I apologize for that, is the things that don't have a price tag. The sun on my face, my healing priorities, being an influence on people in their worst pain to make them smile.
Have you ever had recurring dreams?
Yes, I've had very good ones, but very sad ones, such as my baby granddaughter. She's 5 now. I always call her a baby. I hear her say over and over and cry and scream, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And her narcissistic father screams back, you're not sorry, or you would not keep doing this again. He feeds off of her pain. He enjoys her pain. So my dreams are, to be honest, good ones. Being a victim of violent crime, I do have bad dreams of where I wake up gasping for air, but those have become much less and much less.
In what cities have you lived, and which is your favorite?
Hawaii, Honolulu. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, but it's not my favorite. The crime is so high there. And my stepmother raised me there with my father, who was amazing. My favorite would honestly be the ocean here in LA or Honolulu, Hawaii. Definitely.
If you had to evacuate your home quickly, what items would you grab?
Water. Pictures of my family.
What does success mean to you?
Great question as well. Success, as I've said before, don't have a price tag. Success to me is to reconfirm, is making the children with cancer smile. And my family, giving them joy, even in their hardest moments.
What political leader, living or dead, do you most admire?
Definitely President Kennedy. I was raised not to believe in Democratic or Republican or indifferent, independent, but I definitely admire President Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I also, actually, believe it or not, I admire our current president, President Trump, only because he actually went from bankruptcy to becoming possibly a trillionaire, because he does hide a lot of his assets. But the fact that he actually was a lawyer, any political leader that was a lawyer, a judge, that are stern but fair. And I understand the narcissism of many of our political leaders. I do understand that. I get it. But that doesn't keep me from respecting the best things about them. I loved our president that was always in a wheelchair from polio, because he didn't get the vaccine. It wasn't doable at that time. And he lived his life in a wheelchair. But he stood up as president of our country during our war with Pearl Harbor. And he stated, "We will not be taken down by these people that attacked us the worst day in our history." He said, he slammed his fist on the table, and he said, their best saying was, "You have awoken the worst monster."
Do you feel like you always try to do the right thing?
Yes, definitely. I try, but of course I'm not perfect. And but I've learned to say the best things, such as 5 phrases to deal with narcissists, that are very easy. And they actually call me and the narcissist. It throws them off track. They don't know what to say back. It doesn't make them angry, for sure. So I like to say things that I smile. If they don't smile back, fine. And I also love, like I said, being around people and helping others. Ever since I set my first step into nursing school, ever since I gave birth to my first child, we were, amazingly, not to brag, the best parents. I was amazed. My husband, an only child, stepped in as the best dad in the whole world.
What's the best group you've ever been a member of?
Great question as well. Make-A-Wish Foundation. St. Jude, being a volunteer for St. Jude. Also, being an advocate for pediatric cancer as a volunteer at CHLA, which is Children's Hospital here in Los Angeles.
Do you believe in fate?
Actually, I would not call it fate. I would name it a God thing, a God moment. So that is under the definition of fate, because it is the best.
Thank you for visiting the U Studio.
And one last question. How would you like to be remembered?
Do I hit the button?
No, that's okay. You can
Okay.
just answer.
I would love to be remembered as being very kind, always smiling, the best mother, mama to my children, always forgiving their worst, and telling my youngest daughter, when she was so fearful of going to college, when she told me, she shared with me, "Mama, I'm so scared." And I told her, I said, "Honey, no matter whatever happens, you can always tell me," that she wouldn't tell her daddy, because we will stay in the solution, not the problem. And I always want to be remembered that way. I have to remind myself when I get super stressed, stay in the solution, not the problem. So I want to be remembered as having the kindest smile and the deepest look with my eyes, Gee, people are in their worst pain.